This lesson we're going to build using the what is this lesson. It's a new thing. It's going to move around. Let's try find it on your iPads. Go to the app Spike. This is a quick revision. We may have new students, so bear with me. Click on the blue one, Prime. Scroll down to Unit Plans or Units. Scroll down to Supplementary Lessons. It should already be downloaded. If not, remember you go to the internet and download again. Go to Supplementary Lessons. Scroll down to Lesson 3. What is this? On the left are our block codes. On the right is our little lesson instructions. If you can't see it, remember to zoom in 2 little tabs, 2 lines that show the tab. You can play the video, but please play it quietly on mute. Turn the sound off while you're watching. Increase the screen to see what it is you're building. This lesson is called the What is this? And the main coding is to turn it on, and it should start to move left and right. Your job is to make it and think about ways we can use this kind of machine. I will pause the video. You don't have to watch the whole thing. The most important step is to quickly get to step 2, which is usually building. Remember, your hub is already like this. This is just a reminder if the batteries were charging. This has a lot of steps, so my tip is, person on iPad 1 can start with the bottom section. Person on iPad 2, just jump ahead to like step 7 and do those steps. Work it out as a team. This one, when you see a button like this or an icon like this, it just means turn your build around to the other side. If you only have one iPad in each group, just collect the equipment so the next person can start to build it. You need to build very carefully and check you have slotted each piece into the correct number hole, or this contraption will not work, because they need to be touching each other at correct points. The gears particularly need to be contacting each other or it won't work. My tip is count the holes before you slot it in. For example, this one is just above one hole. It's very important that precision is involved in this build. Because, see, for example, this next piece that goes on, it needs to be attached at hole number 2 and hole number 5. Don't forget these end screws. They keep the stick from moving back and forth. Similarly with this build, you may need to look carefully to work out which one's in the front, which one's behind. Check your orientation. So this piece is behind. The next piece goes in front. Here it's also careful when you're putting it on. I would recommend you click on this front side, then click on the back side. Don't push too hard. Work together because we don't want it to break, but we also want it to be secure. This next bit is a bit fussy. They ask you to slot on a longer piece all these little lids. That creates the little beam bar. Best to stack it on 1 at a time. Trust me, because if you stack on 4 at a time, it won't slide down easily. It'll get stuck. So just 1 piece at a time, slide it on. Here it's a little bit hard to see, but there should be enough of the yellow piece sticking out to protrude to the black piece on the back. Here is my version that I have pre-made. This is one of the longer builds. You'll notice a lot of precision work. The gears should be touching. It is hard for me to move it just now. I have to gently move it. The gears are just touching each other. That yellow stick is completely full of pieces on it. That's why we need to make sure all the holes are in the right spot. or it won't go through neatly. Once you've finished building, sometimes it doesn't drag, you just have to tap to the end. You've built it. Step 3, connect the hub on your device. Check the color. So I'm going to connect. What color is your power button? My one is green. So click on the left side to follow the green instructions. It's already on. So do I need to turn it on again? No. Turn on the Bluetooth, which is the corner blue button. It should sense the kit. It says Spike 20. Check it matches my device. Yep, Spike 20. Then press connect. Check that the green tick is on. That means it has successfully connected. This time it says when the program starts. So look for the bottom right yellow play button. They've pre-built this coding for you. To see what the machine does, let's get a taller view of what happens when we play the program. Now the best view is probably like this. Excuse the clutter in the background. Press play. Make sure there's room. Now if it gets stuck, you may need to help it because something looks stuck there. So a piece has dislodged. This is a good problem to have. When that happens, press stop, stop the program. See what happened. Oh, this piece was loose. So make sure you go back and look at the build and check that the pieces are attached clearly. Otherwise it was working. Your job is to think about when would we use this kind of machine? Where do we see something like this being used? How could we use this so it's a useful little machine? I'll give you a clue. We use it at Castle Towers when we're driving in and out. Have a go at the build. Earlier, this wasn't working very well because a piece came loose. Be careful that this particular box section or rectangle frame, both bottom legs of it are kind of attached inside using the hole. They might come out from all the moving, so just carefully push them back in again like this so it connects to the yellow, connects into the yellow section. Now it should just be like this. If at any point something is stuck, don't push it too hard. What you want to do, see that force motor there? Manually, just very carefully rotate it. Make sure that you have stopped the program playing, that you've pressed the stop, the grey stop button. Then you can manually, gently, just see how when you rotate that force sensor, it'll move this big black beam section. It's like a little wheel. The gears are moving it. So you can just manually check it slowly, and if you need to fix any bits, don't push too hard because we don't want to break our force sensor. Now that it's fixed, let's try again. Press play. Oops, move the iPad away. Make sure your iPad is not so close. What does this remind you of? How could we use this in a real life setting? Where would we find this useful? Something that carries from left to right or blocks them and then opens, blocks and then opens. Start thinking and trying. When you're done, film or take a photo of your code like this using the second iPad, or you can, if you only have one iPad, screenshot your code and take a photo of what you've built. You can do a small video. Then once you've done that, go to Seesaw and post, how would we use this? What's the advantage of using this? What's the disadvantage? When you are breaking it apart, here's a quick tip. Don't just yank, because remember, certain parts of this are attached. So the principle is to try and pull out first. Don't just yank. If something's pointing to the right, you should probably pull to the right. Then it's easier to remove. If this piece is all pointing to the left, secure it with your right hand, and then everything can pull out on the left. You'll need both hands usually to look after all our pieces. If it's really hard to remove, we do have some tools to poke it out from this side so it can come off. Same thing, notice it's all poking out, so go backwards. If you poked it in this way, go backwards. Now these are quite difficult because they're attached on the other side, so you may need help as a team. Don't rush it. This is quite tricky to pull apart. You may need the tool. You'll notice now it's almost stuck. It's hard to slide up and down. You may need some kind of a tool that you can pick apart and just gently wedge in between the pieces and break them apart.